We were hired to do a routine environmental survey before the oil company started drilling. Archaeologist Dr. Sarah Running Bear recorded. Instead, we uncovered a pre-Columbian settlement that would halt all development. But when we tried to report our findings, we discovered the oil company already knew, and they've been systematically destroying similar sites across 3 states to prevent archaeological protection orders. North Dakota, 2023. The Bakken Formation stretched endlessly across rolling prairie, its underground oil reserves worth billions to the energy companies racing to extract them. Apex Energy Solutions had hired Dr. Sarah Running Bear's team for what should have been a routine environmental impact assessment, a legal requirement before breaking ground on their newest drilling site. Sarah was a respected archaeologist specializing in Plains Indian cultures with a PhD from Harvard and 15 years of field experience. Her mixed Lakota and Irish heritage had made her particularly sensitive to the destruction of Native American historical sites, but she approached every project with scientific objectivity. Initial survey shows minimal environmental impact, she reported to her graduate assistant, Marcus, as they examined soil samples on the first day. Standard prairie ecosystem, no endangered species habitats, no obvious cultural markers. But on the 3rd day, Marcus made a discovery that changed everything. "Dr. Running Bear, you need to see this," he called from a small depression about 50 yards from the proposed drill site. Sarah hurried over to find Marcus carefully brushing dirt from what appeared to be worked stone. As she knelt beside him, her breath caught. The stone showed clear evidence of human craftsmanship: smooth edges, deliberate shaping, tool marks that were unmistakably artificial. "This is lithic debris," she whispered, her heart racing. "Someone was making tools here." Over the next 6 hours, they uncovered dozens of artifacts: stone tools, pottery fragments, and, most significantly, the outline of what appeared to be a circular structure, possibly a medicine lodge or ceremonial building. Carbon dating will confirm it, but based on the pottery style and construction techniques, this site is at least 800 years old, Sarah told Marcus as they photographed their findings. "This is a major archaeological discovery. According to federal law, any site of historical or cultural significance must be preserved. The discovery would halt Apex Energy's drilling project indefinitely, potentially costing millions in delayed development." Sarah immediately called her department head at the University of North Dakota. "Dr. Peterson, we've found a significant pre-Columbian site. I need to file an emergency archaeological protection order." "Slow down, Sarah. Are you certain about the dating?" "Absolutely. This isn't just a camping site. It's a structured settlement, possibly a village center. We need to expand the survey immediately." That evening, Sarah returned to her hotel room to find a message waiting. "Doctor Running Bear, this is James Crawford from Apex Energy. We need to discuss your preliminary findings. Can you meet me at the site tomorrow morning at 8 a.m.? Sarah felt uneasy. She hadn't filed her official report yet. How did Crawford know about their discovery? The next morning, she arrived at the site to find Crawford waiting with 2 other men in expensive suits. Crawford was in his 50s, silver-haired and confident in the way that only came with serious money and power. "Dr. Running Bear, thank you for meeting with us. I understand you found some interesting artifacts." "Mr. Crawford, I haven't submitted my report yet. How do you know about our findings?" Crawford smiled coldly. "We've been monitoring your work naturally. It's our land, after all." The law requires accurate reporting," Crawford interrupted, "and accuracy can be subjective." One of the other men stepped forward holding a tablet computer. "Dr. Running Bear, we've done some research on your previous projects, quite impressive, but we noticed some irregularities in your funding sources." Sarah's blood ran cold. "What are you talking about?" "Grant money from tribal organizations. Consulting fees from casino development projects. Some people might question whether you have an agenda beyond pure science." It was a threat, professionally and personally. Sarah realized these men had investigated her background, looking for leverage. "What do you want?" she asked. "We want you to complete your environmental assessment as originally contracted," Crawford said. "File a report stating that no significant archaeological materials were found. Continue with your career without unnecessary complications. I won't falsify scientific data." Crawford's expression hardened. "Doctor, Running Bear, let me be clear. This drilling project represents a $200 million investment. We've already begun construction on access roads and infrastructure. If your report delays this project, you'll be personally responsible for massive financial losses." "That's not my problem." "It will be your problem when Apex Energy's legal team proves that you violated your consulting contract by exceeding the scope of your assigned survey area." Crawford gestured toward the dig site. "According to our GPS records, you conducted excavations outside the designated environmental assessment zone. That's trespassing and destruction of private property." Sarah looked at the stakes they'd driven to mark the archaeological site. Crawford was right. In their excitement over the discovery, they'd expanded beyond the contracted survey area. "We have documentation of your unauthorized excavation," the second man said. "Criminal charges for trespassing and vandalism, civil liability for damages to our property, and academic misconduct charges with your university for violating your consulting agreement." Sarah felt trapped. "What about the artifacts we've already documented?" "Unfortunate misidentification," Crawford said smoothly. "Happens to even experienced archaeologists. 19th-century homesteader debris can look remarkably like historical artifacts to untrained observers." That evening, Sarah sat in her hotel room staring at her field notes and photographs. Everything in her professional training screamed that she should file the Archaeological Protection Order. But everything in her practical understanding warned that Crawford had the resources to destroy her career if she tried. She called her mentor Dr. Elizabeth Hawkins, a retired archaeology professor who'd guided Sarah through graduate school. "They're threatening to ruin me professionally," Sarah explained. "But Elizabeth, this site is incredibly significant. We're talking about a Plains Indian settlement that predates European contact by centuries." "Sarah, honey, I've seen this before. Energy companies have more lawyers than we have graduate students. But I also know you. You didn't become an archaeologist to cover up history." "What would you do?" "I'd remember why we do this work. Not for the universities or the grant money, but for the people whose stories are buried in the ground. Those stories deserve to be told." The next morning, Sarah made her choice. Instead of meeting Crawford, she drove to the nearest office of the FBI's Art Crime Team, a specialized unit that investigated crimes against cultural property. "Agent Rodriguez, I have evidence of a conspiracy to destroy protected archaeological sites," she began, spreading her documentation across the agent's desk. "Tell me everything." As Sarah explained the situation, Agent Rodriguez's expression grew increasingly serious. "Doctor, Running Bear, based on what you're describing, this could be a federal crime. The Archaeological Resources Protection Act carries serious penalties for the destruction of historical sites. But they haven't destroyed it yet." "No, but conspiracy to violate federal preservation laws is itself a crime, and if this is part of a pattern—" Rodriguez leaned forward. "Are you willing to wear a wire when you meet with Crawford again?" 2 days later, Sarah sat across from Crawford at the construction site, a tiny recording device hidden in her jacket. This time, Crawford was more direct. "Doctor, Running Bear, we've been very patient, but our construction schedule can't wait any longer. I need more time to properly assess—" "You need to understand something," Crawford interrupted. "This isn't the first time we've encountered archaeological complications. We've successfully resolved similar issues in Wyoming, Colorado, and Texas. Sites that might have delayed development indefinitely were properly reclassified." "Reclassified how?" Crawford smiled. "Let's just say that archaeology is more art than science. Interpretation can vary widely depending on who's doing the interpreting." you're talking about destroying historical sites. I'm talking about economic development that benefits thousands of people. A few old pottery shards don't outweigh jobs, energy independence, and economic growth. Sarah felt sick. How many sites have you destroyed? We prefer to think of it as efficient resource management. Historical preservation is a luxury we can't always afford. The FBI raid came at dawn 3 days later. Armed agents surrounded the drilling site while forensic archaeologists began a comprehensive excavation of the settlement Sarah had discovered. What they found exceeded even her initial estimates: a large village site with evidence of continuous occupation spanning several centuries. Crawford and his associates were arrested on federal charges including conspiracy to violate the Archaeological Resources Protection Act, destruction of cultural property, and fraud. The investigation expanded to include similar projects across multiple states, eventually uncovering what prosecutors called the largest systematic destruction of Native American archaeological sites in U.S. history. The settlement site was designated a National Historic Landmark. The Lakota Nation, working with federal archaeologists, began a comprehensive study that would rewrite understanding of pre-Columbian Plains Indian civilization. Sarah testified before Congress about the need for stronger enforcement of archaeological protection laws. Her courage in exposing the conspiracy earned her recognition from both the scientific community and tribal leaders across the Great Plains. "History belongs to everyone," she told the Congressional Committee. "When we allow corporate interests to destroy archaeological sites for profit, we're not just losing artifacts, we're losing the irreplaceable story of who we are as human beings." Did this story make you think about the value of preserving our cultural heritage? Do you believe economic development should take priority over historical preservation? Share your thoughts in the comments, and if you believe stories about standing up to powerful interests need to be heard, don't forget to follow the Frontline Voices.